Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. And good to have you on, and hope you're having a great start to your day. We appreciate you guys. You know that, don't you? Okay, if you can say hello, we'd love to acknowledge you this morning. Let's see, who's going to come up on my hit parade at least? Guys, I only call them as I see them. I'm like an umpire. Paula Joe, how are you? Number one, Lucille, right at the top. Janice from Brampton. Sandy, Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Good morning to you. Oh, we love you dearly. Rosa Linda, there you are, out of the clouds. Brahim, Portland, Oregon. Good morning to you. Lily, how are you? Elaine from St. John's, Newfoundland. Georgie from Halifax, Nova Scotia, as we head east. Ornella's walking in the sun. Beautiful. Sandy. Judy in New Brunswick. Maureen in Boca Raton, Florida. Sharon is in Kansas this morning. Jasmine, how are you? Andrea, Niagara Falls. Heather in Miramichi, good morning to you. Hi, Trish. Dennis is in Norwich. Fran is in Orangeville. Good morning, Fran. Cecilia in Shediac, Nouveau-Brunswick. Dave in Muskoka. Yellow. Bonjour. Wanda's in Ridgeway. Brahim saying he's a baseball umpire. Well, there you go. Sedalia in Portugal. Sherry, how are you? Carol, West Virginia. Danny, Francis Marie, good morning. Arlene, how are you? Karen is in Coldwater, but I bet you it's not that cold. Cheryl in Virginia. Francis, good morning. Wendy in Aylmer, how are you? Nativity in the clouds. IT in Unionville, good morning. Luella, there she is from West Tennessee. Call them as you see them. Isn't that right, Brahim? Donna, Bellhoover, Gary, Sue, Manitoulin Island, Judy, Gail, and Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, and Linda. We love Lindas. Wendy from Markham. Yep, you were in the clouds. Lori, Cambridge, Maryland, Charlottetown. Couple of more guys. Hi, Cynthia. How are you this morning? And we appreciate you. Hi, Rita, New Brunswick. Kristen in Saskatchewan. We go coast to coast here, guys. Canada, United States, and all over the world. Shelley and Mara, how are you? Sue, okay, well, let's get to the questions, okay? Let's get to the questions. Here we are, 10 minutes. Okay. This is from Judy. Wonder if Dr. Martin can talk about fibrinogen on Q&A. My daughter was told her liver wasn't making any fibrinogen. Let me start over. Fibrinogen. It clots your blood. Okay? Your body makes it. Now, if you're not making any fibrinogen, you're obviously very susceptible to bleeds, recurring nosebleeds. If you cut yourself, it won't clot, because that's what fibrinogen does. It clots. Now, why? Well, you got a disorder. Your daughter might have a disorder. I'm sure they're going to check her out. They might have to give her clotting mechanism medication from, usually they do it by IV. Look, there's certain conditions. I mean, they're going to rule that out. Is there anything she can do in the meantime? I don't know. Like, That's a rare disorder. And like, what could she take to help clot her blood naturally? Yeah. I'm not coming up with anything that, you got to get to the bottom of it. That's what I would say. And Judy, this is sometimes you need medical intervention. And in this case, I would say that's exactly what she needs. Nothing in the natural realm, that I can think of, that would help that in that sense. Like she's got some kind of condition. I'm sure her doctors are well aware of what's going on there. Grace, is bubbly a good substitute for water on a sunny, hot day? No, it's not. Okay? Look, you want to have a bubbly? I don't care. Got no sugar in it, right? You want to have a bubbly, but don't count that as your water, okay? Only water is water. 2 liters a day, 64 ounces. You might need more, especially in this hot weather. I like to add a pinch of salt, Himalayan, or, a good kosher salt or whatever that's got all the minerals in it. It provides electrolytes. No. Bubbly, you want to drink it? I got no problem with that. You want to have one? Okay. You want to have a sparkling water? Yeah, go for it. But it's not water. Okay? It's not water. It doesn't take the same pathways to hydrate you. It just doesn't. Okay? But you can have it. Don't live on it, but you can have it. I want you to live, guys. Like somebody said to me, Doc, you don't want us to live. No, I do. I just, you know what I mean? I want you to be very careful. Okay? Melissa, back pain for a couple of years. Okay. Well, look, Melissa, I mean, it could be a lot of things mechanically. You got other issues. Look, here's what I found with chronic back pain. When you lower inflammation, when you eat an anti-inflammatory diet, when you lower glycation, which glycates, takes the elasticity out of collagen and muscle. A lot of people with itis, okay, arthritis, okay, tendinitis, inflammatory conditions, they find with the diet, a lot of people have, not everybody, a lot of people have. You know what? I have less pain. When you cut out the sugar, I have less pain. I've seen that tens of thousands of times in my practice. Okay? Now, you've got another issue, Melissa. You have, you say your esophageal sphincter is not working. You got acid reflux. Okay, again. Let me bring you back, first of all, to your diet. I don't know you, Melissa, but your stomach was designed to eat eggs, meat, and cheese, and especially meat. That's why your stomach is supposed to be very, very acidic. The acidity in your stomach, the pH of your stomach should be just above 1. That's more acidic than a lion's stomach. Okay? It is. Now, okay? When that acidity, when the pH starts to go up and the stomach becomes more alkaline, your body reacts to that. And you make acid from your proton pumps. You got pumps in your stomach that secrete extra acid. And when that happens, it can often go up into the esophagus, and therefore you get acid reflux. So the diet has a big effect on that. When you eat more eggs, meat, and cheese, you get off the sugars, okay? And you don't only eat plants, plant food, because your body wasn't designed for that. I'm not saying you can't have any. I'm just telling you what your body has been designed for. That's one of the biggest arguments I use, because your body is designed. You got more acidity, or at least you should, than a lion. And a lion, as far as I know, only eats animals. Okay? And your acidity is supposed to be higher than theirs. Or lower, whatever, which way you want to. Like, you got a lot of acidity in your stomach. Most people don't, because they don't eat the right food. Okay, so, Melissa, you might hit two birds with one stone. Pain and your acid reflux. Now listen, here's what I did with acid reflux, okay? Here's what I did. Here's what I recommended to my patients for years and years and years. Don't leave home without them. Digestive enzymes with every meal. As we get older especially, we just don't make as many enzymes as we used to. Your pancreatic enzymes like lipase and amylase and protease. So I love digestive enzymes, okay? And that helps a lot. You know, make sure you're drinking enough water, because even water has an effect, okay? And on your digestive tract. You want to take a little bit of apple cider vinegar? Not a bad idea. I like balsamic apple cider vinegar. Very good for you. Okay, probiotics. Yeah, they work right at the stomach level too. Okay, and let me see. That was Melissa. Janet, I'm a diabetic, but don't want to take metformin. Is there a supplement I can take? Well, if you're in the US of A, okay, if you're in the US of A, we have a supplement, and unfortunately in Canada, because it's a formula, okay? And I've always liked this, okay? I've always liked it because I gave a combination of things when I was in my office. This is why we formulated the insulin balance, okay? And in the United States, blood sugar formula, okay? And it's got chromium. I've always liked chromium picolinate. I've always loved cinnamon bark. Always liked that. Ashwagandha. I like the combination of things, okay? Somebody was asking me the other day about berberine. On its own, it's really hyped up, okay? I told you this, guys, many a time, because I had a radio show for years. And every week, people would try and get me to talk about certain products. And I said, well, look, I mean, I'll look into it if I don't know anything about it, or I had good experience with it. And I said, well, you know what I mean? Like, I'd give you my honest opinion on the radio. So berberine, it's sort of everybody, berberine is better than anything else in the world for blood sugar. It's not been my experience. It's not been my experience. And I've always told you this, I like alpha lipoic acid. I remember traveling to France. Where else did I go with them? Somewhere else to do conferences. I know we went to France together, Dr. Richard Passwater. He wrote a book on alpha-lipoic acid. Now, this is in the 1990s, and I sat beside him flying because I was doing a conference in France, the same conference as him. I was doing it on chronic fatigue syndrome and pine bark extract, and so was he. And he had written a book on pine bark, but he also was talking to me back in those days of alpha-lipoic acid. He said for blood sugar control, for insulin, in the 90s, he said, man, this is fantastic. And I started using that in my practice because of him. And I found it to be very effective. Okay? Okay. Let me see here. Back to the questions. And that was Janet. Diabetic and doesn't want to take metformin. Well, listen, first of all, Janet, you can't out-supplement a bad diet. So you're a diabetic. And most people, 93% of the population have trouble with this. Diabetes, remember, Janet, is the last thing that happens. It's never the first, it's always the last. It took years and years and years for your body to become diabetic because your body is dedicated for you not to be a diabetic. Your body knows how toxic sugar is. So by the time you're a diabetic, you really have been a diabetic for about 10 years. Okay? You just didn't know it, and no one diagnosed it because they never talk about metabolic syndrome, which is a precursor to diabetes. 93% of the population. 93%. And it's not hard to diagnose if you have metabolic syndrome because you just do blood tests. And in my office, we didn't guess, we tested. I wanted to know what your triglycerides were. Because if your triglycerides are high and your HDL is low, guess what? You got trouble with insulin. If you got slightly elevated A1C, anything above 5.4, you got trouble with insulin. You're on the road. You're on the Titanic. If you got slightly elevated blood pressure even, you're on the Titanic. Because that blood pressure generally is being affected by your kidneys, and your kidneys are affected by insulin and sugar. Okay? So these are you can test that. And this is why I'm so much into prevention, because you can take your blood test and you can monitor that and you can change that. That's why I created the reset to change insulin resistance, to change your numbers, move the numbers, A1C, blood pressure, blood sugar, triglycerides, HDL, and I added a few. Just from my experience in the clinic, I added uric acid. I added vitamin D, because when your vitamin D is low, you know what? You got insulin resistance almost invariably. I added B12. Why? Because it's a metabolic vitamin. It's not just a nerve vitamin, it's a metabolic vitamin. How your body uses energy, metabolism, metabolic, okay? And that's why I added that test. So if you're low in vitamin D, you're low in B12, almost without exception, you got metabolic syndrome. And so when you're a diabetic, and I agree, I reversed a lot of diabetes in this sense, okay? So let me just qualify it with an asterisk, okay? Because I got to qualify what I'm saying here. If you're an alcoholic, okay, you know any alcoholics? Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Once a carboholic, always a carboholic. Okay? So, but you can control it, just like an alcoholic. If they never have another drink, have you ever met people that never had another drink? Okay? Yeah. Well, they're under control, man. Right? It's carboholic. You can control it by what you put in your mouth every day. Diabetes is what you put in your mouth every day. Okay? What you put in your mouth every day. So you got to control your food. And I'm sure, Janet, if you've been listening to me, you're doing that already. Because diabetes is an allergy to sugars, to carbohydrate. It's an allergy. You and carbs don't get along. Okay? I used to explain that to my patients. Okay? And this is why we're going to start off with the reset. Well, Dr. Martin, what about whole wheat? You're asking me to eat eggs. But what am I supposed to dip my eggs in if I can't have bread? I said pretend. Pretend. You'll get used to it. It's like drinking water. You know how many patients came in and I said, you know what? You got blood like molasses. It's time to start drinking water. I don't like water. I heard that a million times. I don't like water. I don't care. I care about you, but I don't care that you don't like water because now you're going to drink it. You'll thank me later. That's what I used to tell them. You'll thank me because you're going to end up liking water. I promise. Give me 30 days of your life. Drink water and drink coffee. And they thought I was kidding. Like coffee? Yep. You're a diabetic? Drink coffee. It's good for you. It's like metformin. But Dr. Martin, my doctor said, your doctor doesn't know 2 ounces about nutrition. I'm sorry. They don't take it in school. Go to your plumber. You'll get every bit as good as advice on nutrition as you will from your physician. Go to your plumber. They might have taken more nutrition than your doctor. So don't tell me what your doctor said about diabetes and food, because they don't know. The old doctors did. My dad, you know what he said? Son, what year was it? Not 1999. I was 16, 1998. No, 1968, 1998. Hey guys, I'm a senior, okay? 1968. I wasn't 16 in 1998, I can tell you that. But I was 16, that's 17, that's a song. I was 16 in 1968 when my dad announced to the family that he was a diabetic. And I watched him change his diet immediately. No fooling around. I admired my dad. I said, Dad, you're not eating any sugar. Where's your soda? Like my dad used to love rum and Coke. He said, son, it's sugar diabetes. I can't have it. Okay. Is that what it's called? What did I know? I was 16. They didn't call it type 2 diabetes. They called it sugar diabetes. And then they changed the name to fool you. Who did that? Think about it for a minute. Who did that? Who changed the name? Big Food and Big Pharma. Big Food and Big Pharma. They changed the name. It's type 2 diabetes. It's adult onset diabetes. Okay? Type 1 happens in kids. Type 2 happens in adults. Not your fault. Yes, it is. I used to tell my patients this. Starts with you. Now you got to make better choices when it comes to putting stuff in your mouth, guys. Okay? It's up to you. I can't go home with you. Dr. Martin, it's going to be hard. You have no idea. I said, well, I didn't say it was going to be easy. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And tens of thousands, no more than that. I said on the way out, you'll thank me later. And they come back and thank me for teaching them Nutrition 101. Diabetes is a food issue. It's what you put in your mouth every day. Okay. Now with Janet, Dave. Okay. Can the Dr. Martin talk about hearing loss and prevention? Well, look, one thing, and this again, I'm just going to give you some experience, Dave, in my office, okay? Hearing loss, not always easy. And, a lot of times it would damage because of being in a very loud environment, especially in the workplace or whatever, okay? But a lot of times there was glycation involved. Sugar. And the hardening of the canal there in the middle ear. And they found with a diet that flipped away from sugar, a lot of people, not everyone, but some of them said, gee, I hear better. Never cured it, but better. And the other thing, and guys, this is, if you're going to look at a natural, I was always big on two things. Navitol, pine bark extract. Why? Open blood vessels. Middle ear. Blood supply. Blood flow. Nitric oxide. Made a difference for a lot of people. They found it better. And, sometimes with either quercetin, because it's a natural antihistamine and unblocks the sinuses. There's been some research on vitamin D. Is vitamin D bad for anything? Nope. Okay? Vitamin D. And one that I used to say, give it a shot, see what it does for you. High DHA oil. Lubricate. You're going in for an oil change, okay? I don't know nothing about my car. I know nothing. I know it needs gasoline, and I know I need to change the oil. That's all. That's all I know, okay? My grandson's a mechanic. He said, Grandpa, you know nothing. I said, grandson, you're right. He said, you know nothing. I know. I know the human body, but the car, well, I have a truck. I don't know anything about it. Okay, I know how to start it. I know to go put gas in it. And I know that it needs an oil change. Okay? It needs an oil change. Other than that, I don't know anything. Okay? But you need an oil change. This is why I love DHA, because it lubricates your blood vessels. Very anti-inflammatory. Okay, that's Dave. Claude, how does caffeine pick you up? It does not make you more cortisol, okay? I've heard that for so many years. It actually works in the brain, okay? Adenosine, okay? It's a hormone that makes you tired in the brain. And caffeine picks you up. That's why when I hit 50 years old, okay? When I hit 50 years old, no more caffeine. Not afternoon. Because I won't sleep at night. Okay? Before that, I could have a coffee 5 minutes before I went to bed. It didn't bother me. But it does now. I laughed at my neighbor because he was boasting that he could have a coffee just before going to bed. I said, oh yeah, how old are you? 49. I said, you got a year left. And it was almost like on his birthday, he found out, nah, he can't have that anymore. I said, well, here, have one of my decafs. Because I love coffee, guys. You guys know that. It's the real vitamin C. But I got to have decaf. You know, I sort of got to cut myself off now, even close to noon now, as I get older. But I can still have coffee. I just got to have a decaf. I have a decaf at night. Okay, I like that. I enjoy it. Okay? Coffee's good for you. Even the decaffeinated bean, if it's done properly. Okay? Look for water processed decaf. Okay, that was Claude. Debbie, my doctor told me she put her on a statin to lower her inflammation. Now, Debbie, your doctor, not you, your doctor just gave me a migraine. Putting you on a statin drug, go look at the side effects that they even admit to. Okay? In the one that you're taking there, the rosuvastatin. Read the side effects from brain, cognitive, muscle. It's legion. Liver problem. You got to have your liver checked. You got to have your liver enzymes checked. Why? Because it can damage your liver. And guys, you know, like I'm not big on statins. I've told you this a million. If I get to live longer, I'll tell you another million times. Statin drugs lower cholesterol. They work. Why do you want to do that? I always say why. Why? Cholesterol, your body needs it. Every cell in your body's got cholesterol. Your brain's made up of cholesterol. Why do you want to lower it? Cholesterol's not the bad guy. Okay? Inflammation can be a bad guy, but why would you take a statin to lower inflammation? You want to do that naturally. First of all, change your diet. Eat eggs, meat, and cheese primarily, and lay off the crappy carbs and sugars, and your inflammation markers will go down. Your CRP, you can literally measure it. Eat more eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? To lower your inflammatory markers. You want to lower inflammation? I like Navitol, especially with DHA. That'll lower your inflammation. Curcumin, that'll lower your inflammation. Like a statin drug, because I'm lowering your inflammation. My word. It doesn't make any sense to me. That was Debbie. Gail, my right vertebral artery is fully blocked. They say it is inoperable. Well, look, okay. She had a TIA, like a small mini stroke, no side effects, but had one 3 years ago. So you're very susceptible to that. Keep the blood flowing. Pine bark, Navital. DHA, lubricate your blood vessels. Because if they're all blocked up, they're calcified. That's why I would have you on vitamin D with K2 and eat a lot of K2. How do you eat K2? Eggs, meat, and cheese. Decalcifies. K2, okay, is found in eggs, meat, and cheese. It takes calcium out of your blood vessels and puts it where it belongs, in your bones. Okay? Okay. And you're taking garlic and that. I got no problem with that. You're on an aspirin. Okay? So now you need protection. Because aspirin, the FDA said this, not me. Don't take it. Because the risks of bleeding are worse than the benefits they give you. But if your doctor puts you on aspirin because you had a stroke before, I'm not telling you to come off of it. I'm just telling you what the FDA says. Okay, that was Gail. Thanks, Gail. Why don't we see a single lipid panel that includes oxidized LDL? I don't care. Lucy, you can't make me care. Okay? You can't make me care about LDL. I mean, I like to look at it because if it's low, you're going to die young. They made the bad guys LDL cholesterol because they found a medication to lower it. Like, I'm sorry, it's just the way I think. And of all the years they've talked about oxidized LDL, they haven't even made a dent in heart disease. Statins have not made a dent in heart disease. It's worse than ever. I rest my case. That's what I tell people. I rest my case. Okay? Because do you want to know what your oxidized LDL is? I want to know what your triglycerides are. I want to know what your HDL is. I look at LDL. I certainly do. But not for the reasons people look at it. I don't want it to be low. I want it to be elevated. Because when your LDL is elevated, it's got a big contribution to your immune system. Okay, am I done now? 10 minutes. Yeah, I think I'm done. Yep. Oh, Sandra, one more. Someone I know has recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's. Did I do this the other day? He's 68 and very fit, works out every day, but is a carboholic. Hope you can fix that. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, right? One thing about Parkinson's, okay, here's what they know about Parkinson's, okay, from an alternative point of view, okay? Here's what we know, okay? They usually got a lot of heavy metal, especially mercury in the brain. This is what we know. What carries the mercury into the brain? Yeast, fungus, leaky gut. Leaky gut, leaky brain. Parkinson's. Probiotic. How much you're going to reverse it once it actually starts? Okay. But if he would change his diet, okay? Let me see here. Okay, what if anything supplements? Well, I'd have him on probiotic. 100%. Vitamin D, they're usually very low in vitamin D. They're usually very low in B12. Okay? You can measure that. I'd get that checked. They're usually overflowing with candida, yeast, fungus. Okay? So, okay, I think we got her. I think I'm done. Okay. Guys, we love those questions. You can get them in, because Friday will come soon or come quickly. Okay? So guys, we love you. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for being such a great audience, guys. We love you dearly and sincerely. Got a great week coming up. So tell your friends. Okay? Tell your friends. We got almost 200 people on with us this morning. By the end of the morning, we'll be up into 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people view this. By the end of the day, almost 10,000 people a day. Okay? You can share it. And then it gets shared even more by Facebook. Okay? And then, of course, they can always watch or listen to the Doctors In podcast on their favorite device. They can go back over old ones, and they're all listed there with their titles on our on your favorite device. So go where you can, if you listen to podcasts at all, I've got a podcast app. Click there, the Doctors In podcast. Okay? And give us a review, because that helps too. Show us your love. Talk to you soon.